I do not own the rights to any of the images, nor the sequences, nor any of the dope-ass music featured in this video. Any expressions, ideas, or critiques, or even opinions are solely my own and do not represent anyone else. Fair use to any and all suit dummies that may or may not be watching. Thank you.
Look.
I know you're out there. I can feel you now. I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change. I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came here to tell you how it's going to begin. I'm going to hang up this phone, and then I'm going to show these people what you don't want them to see. I'm going to show them a world without you. A world without rules and controls, without borders or boundaries. A world where anything is possible. Where we go from there is a choice I leave to you.
Wow, what an exit. I mean, what an ending to a film. You got the rebellious music, Rage Against the Machine, am I right? Except shortly after 9/11 happened. And now we take our shoes off to get groped by the TSA. I really don't think we raged against anything, to be honest. But that's besides the point. Keanu Reeves is consistent, by the way. He's consistent because he plays the same character every film. I like that. I can depend on him. But besides that, I think it was the Matrix that actually brought simulation theory to the foreground, at least to mass consciousness. It had been hinted at in previous films, but I think it was this franchise that actually brought it into popular culture. And it's a provocative thought. You know, this could all be a simulation, a computer program. We're just ones and zeros. Now, not to be crass, but to anyone that actually seriously entertains this, pitch yourself off the tallest building you can find. And I guarantee you, once your feet leave solid ground, all that bluster will go out the window, no pun intended. Yeah, I don't believe it. I think it's preparing us for the transhumanist agenda, but there's also an even more sinister theme behind all of this, and that is that the house always wins. That no matter what you do, you will never beat it. Who is the house? It's the controllers. It's them, so to speak. Let's see another example, and this film actually brought it to my consciousness that I realized there's a problem. There's a common theme in these films, and it was Repo Men with Jude Law. Let's get into it.
This is it. Oh, shit. Union men.
What are we gonna do?
Fuck. Grab the axe.
Freeze! Drop your weapons now! Your weapons! Drop your weapons! Do it now!
Alright, so in this hyper-violent film known as Repo Man, Jude Law plays a repo man, and his job, gruesome as it is to repossess organs from delinquent clients. If you can't pay, you don't get to live, pretty much. He'll choke you out or whatever means necessary to incapacitate you, and then take the organ right out from inside your body. And then he takes it back into repossession of this giant, large uni-corporation, so to speak. There is basically no more competition. The government and the corporation are one in the same, as we see now. However, simulation theory becomes prominent. I mean, we have the male and female dynamic. He falls in love with a woman, just like in The Matrix. It's something that appeals to our emotion, but the subtle message is that we're not sure what reality exactly is. It could all be a dream. It's this idea, this dreamscape concept, that life is a dream within a dream within a dream within another dream. It's multi-layered, and we'll never get at the heart of the truth. We'll never understand the complexity of our situation. But there's also that subtle reinforcement that no matter how hard we try, at most, we're simply going to scratch the paint of the system. We're not going to make a dent even. They got the system on lock. And that's what I find so sinister, because not only are they infecting us with this doubt, where we sometimes wonder what is reality and who can blame us. I mean, we have mass shootings almost every single weekend, and it runs the gauntlet. We have so many boogeymen now running around, and at any given time, our reality can be changed for the worst. So it puts us in a very unsure position. Now let's look at the definition of simulation theory. Okay, so let's get into what the definition of simulation reality is. Simulation reality is the hypothesis that reality could be simulated, for example, by quantum computer simulation, to a degree indistinguishable from true reality. It could contain conscious minds which may or may not be fully aware that they are living inside a simulation. This is quite different from the current technologically achievable concept of virtual reality. Virtual reality is easily distinguished from the experience of actuality, is it? Participants are never in doubt about the nature of what they experience, really. Simulated reality, by contrast, would be hard or impossible, emphasis on impossible, to separate from true reality. So it was Repo Man with Jude Law that actually made me conscious of this insidious concept that the house always wins, along with simulation theory. I mean, you have this beautiful ending scene where evil's been defeated, people don't have to live in perpetual fear of having their organs repossessed for delinquency, but it turns out, no, it was all a simulation. He had been mortally injured during a job, and so for his mind to be able to deal with the shock, they put him in a medical coma and ran this simulation. Now, Fight Club is a more benign example. It certainly doesn't reinforce the house always wins ideology that we see so prevalent in what I'm speaking about. However, there is a touch of simulation theory. At the very end, we see that Tyler Durden is in fact a character that was fabricated in his mind. So I would say this is evidence of simulation theory to a degree. Not to mention predictive programming. After all, the tactic they used to bring down these buildings is virtually identical to the first World Trade bombing in 1993, where they accidentally parked the van next to the wrong column. However, in this one, they obviously succeed. You know, it was Christopher Nolan's Inception that was indeed the mainstream Inception, where they definitely wanted us to consider simulation theory very seriously. It takes place in a dystopian future. Although the technology looks very simple, it allows an individual to enter into a dreamlike state, a simulation, if you will, where they can no longer tell what is reality versus the simulation, and it's very easy to choose simulation over reality. It even shows scenes of entire galleries of people who would rather live in the Inception than participate in the real world. It's a very depressing thought, but if anything, it lays a predictive programming path. Indeed, today we see entire generations lost in virtual reality, basically video games or online gaming or social media, the web in general. Not only that, in the East we have net cafes where people actually rent rooms and live 24 hours a day on the web, gaming or chatting or whatever it is, taking breaks only to sleep, for bodily functions, maybe a shower every now and then, or to eat. Now, there's a reason I found Inception so unique. I feel two concepts were introduced. Obviously, simulation theory, as the protagonist uses a top to decide or gauge whether he's still within the simulation, as it will continue to spin in perpetuity if so. However, if he's in reality, then it's going to obviously fall over. But we're not entirely sure. Throughout the movie, it's as though we're lost in the dreamscape. It's as though we can't tell where reality ends and the simulation begins. Just when we think we're out, the simulation pulls us back in. With this in mind, and perhaps this is a reach, I feel it hints at this idea or concept that the house always wins. Because if there is no closure, if there's no triumph of good over evil, if there's no positive progress even, then the house still maintains control. Divergent is unique, I wonder what that I means, but unfortunately it introduces a simulation theory and also the concept that the house always wins to a younger generation. It's more of a teenager film. It has the love interest, of course, but it's a dystopic future where somehow, despite all the advancements, they're unable to cure this zombie virus outbreak. So they select individuals, they screen wipe their memory, and they stick them in an enclosure. And they have to battle it out, they have to survive. And if they're able to make it through all the obstacles, more of like a nightmarish funhouse, then they're selected to move on. But yet, we're not entirely sure if it's still a simulation. So in Allegiant, which is part 2 of this Divergent series, we discover that despite the fact they broke out of their enclosure and they thought they got rescued by the good guys, if you will, turns out the good guys are the bad guys. So it just continually reinforces this idea of simulation. They don't even know if this is yet another test to the game. They're in a constant state of flux. They don't even know if those amongst their camp are double, triple, or quadruple agents, so there's nobody to trust, which reinforces this notion that the house definitely maintains control. And finally, all of this is reinforced at the very end as we discover that one of the deeply embedded characters was a double agent all along. So we're constantly in a state of confusion. And again, we have no closure. We don't know who the good guys are, who the bad guys are. We kind of have an idea, but we can't be entirely sure. So we're still lost in the simulation. The house indeed wins, or maintains control at the very least. So I would be doing a great disservice if I didn't mention Blade Runner. And it's not that I'm jumping out of sequence. It's just, like I said, I don't want this video to be well over 10 hours long. But there was many films well before The Matrix that hinted at these ideas and concepts, especially simulation theory. Blade Runner was no exception. It was a pioneer, especially when it came to predictive programming, transhumanist agenda, robots, being able to implant your consciousness into another body, even genetic manipulation on a large scale. But it's Blade Runner 2049 that masterfully weaves all these concepts and ideas together. Simulation theory, the house definitely always wins, but it morphs into something even more sinister. And that's something I'm going to make a separate video on, but I definitely want to begin to discuss here. And that is in the dystopic future. It's going to be a technocratic nightmare. There's no hope. But even more so, if you notice, and many others that have been paying attention have definitely remarked on the same thing. There's no mention of God. There's no spirituality. It's as though man has no redemptive values. We are reduced to our passions and basically the 1 and 0 output of whatever our neurosynaptic responses are. You can live in perpetuity in the simulation in the future, but there definitely is no more memory of any religious rites. There's no more God. It was pretty depressing. I found the entire film just completely overwhelming. In terms of, it's pretty clear to see where the agenda is headed. So lastly, I'm going to touch upon Moon with Sam Rockwell. Generally, I avoid these NASA propaganda pieces like the plague. I'm not a flat earther. I'm not a round earther. I just don't believe the NASA narrative. I happened to catch this on a very bored day, and I was completely blown away. It was a very compelling story. Not only did it have the simulation theory element, but like I said, by now, this idea that the house always wins has morphed into this atheistic concept that by now, man no longer has any memory of a god, of a deity. There's no worship that takes place any longer. What made the moon, or rather Moon, so compelling to me, in my opinion, was that it was so damned depressing. All these dystopic movies seem to be so bleak. Of course, that could be my subjective experience, but throughout this movie, it is absolutely suggested that the protagonist is lost within a multi-layered simulation. Now, I'm not going to give the movie away because I highly recommend that if you have an opportunity to watch it, because you're going to pick up on all these elements I describe. I mean, we have very emotional scenes where he's looking fondly at the photographs of his family on Earth. And so that draws us in. It's a very human element we can identify with. But what makes it so horrible is that in the future, it seems as though not only is it completely atheistic, there's no religious or spiritual redemptive value in man, every aspect of man's waking reality is managed from top to bottom. In fact, the system has solidified complete control. Nature has been completely conquered. There is no more mystery. Indeed, even the universe presents no challenge. Space travel is simply a thing. And as he communicates with his wife, it's very foreboding and also very symbolic when he touches the screen and we see the word end, because it's the end of man's free will. And as he falls back in his chair, it creates a very defeatist atmosphere. It's over. Finally, if you have not read Secret Societies and Psychological Warfare from Michael A. Hoffman, well, I really don't know what to tell you at this point because you are completely missing out. This book is extremely revealing. There's a lot of popularity these days to talk about reality is a dream, reality is fake, everything is fake, nothing is real, we've always been lied to. But before that became mainstream and popular and trendy, there was the forefathers that laid the groundwork in order for us to entertain these notions, and Michael A. Hoffman was definitely a pioneer. Okay, so the worst is over, but in conclusion of this video, I'm going to be reading a passage from Secret Societies and Psychological Warfare. If I were to try to summarize this book, it would be doing it a great injustice, as it needs to be undertaken in a very scholarly manner. So in Consent is Crucial to the Process, it reads as follows. The alchemical principle of the revelation of the method has as its chief component a clown-like grinning mockery of the victims as a show of power and macabre arrogance, When this is performed in a veiled manner, accompanied by certain occult signs and symbolic words, and elicits no meaningful response of opposition or resistance from the targets, it is one of the most efficacious techniques of psychological warfare and mind rape. This ceremonial nose-dumbing, this perverse jesting and clowning is taken to the highest levels of intensity by this truth or consequences principle, which ultimately hinges upon the issue of consent. It is the one thing for the media, the police, the judiciary, and the killers themselves to commit terrible acts without our knowledge or consent. It is quite another matter, with grave repercussions in the realm of psychodrama, public ritual, and advanced mind control when these crimes are committed without our consent. It is an ancient rule of both the moral and common law that silence connotes consent, and that a lack of meaningful action constitute consent in the face of these crimes. To me, that passage perfectly illustrates, at least in my opinion, everything that we have been discussing in this video, because Hollywood is more than happy to reinforce the notion that the system is all-powerful. It's in complete control. However, as we see on the screen now, I think you know where my opinion on the entire matter lies. I believe it's yet another layer of the simulation. So I'm going to close this video with some scenery that may be nostalgic for probably most of you. Anyways, thank you for watching, and God bless every single one of you. At some point, we're going to have to start pushing back. I'll leave you with that. Cheers.
Please, sir, we've done what you told us. We brought you the broomstick of the Wicked Witch of the West. We melted her.
You liquidated her, eh? Very resourceful.
So we'd like you to keep your promise.
Not so fast.
Tell the whole world about it.